Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you on a Monday of Thanksgiving week. Hope you guys are going to have a terrific Thanksgiving coming up in a few days, and I hope you're having safe travels and whatnot. And as always, I'm joined by Andrew Combo Sal to discuss the latest and greatest. And Combo, what's happened, my man?
All is well. And I've been thinking about duos lately, right? And how the Celtics just stuck with their duo. And I'm starting to think that the T-Wolves and the Knicks should have done the same.
Oh, let's get into that.
Should have done the same. I'm starting to think that, Coach Nick. What are your thoughts, man?
Yes, and what's up, Harlan? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Good to see everybody out there. Don't forget, if you want your question answered, the best way to do that would be the super chat on the YouTube side. So head over there if you're not. Otherwise, let's talk about that because I'm doing a video I'm going to drop right after this. So please go watch it a few times about Rudy and Randle and how that's going, which kind of talks a little bit about like what's going on with the Randle side of things on Minnesota versus what's going on with Cat in New York. I think that, yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves had something. They made it to the conference finals. They were figuring some things out where they could have Rudy on the court and they could be, a very difficult team to beat. And I think that they took a step down.
Yeah. Kind of what I was just talking about with the Celtics, like they just kept knocking on the door for years with the same duo and found ways to get better around them. Just kept knocking on the door, And it feels like some teams are looking for a fix instead of just going down the route that maybe could lead them to a championship inevitably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing about, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, with Cat and the repeater tax or the apron, whatever it was going to be, like it was going to be so expensive to have them that they wanted to change that. Now, that said, bringing Randle in with his contract doesn't change that either for this year at least. But yeah, I think that once you could get something that kind of has some success and you realize that some things can work out that way, especially when it's like, because again, Rudy, I believe, puts a ceiling on your team, right? It's tough. And that might be the end all be all here, the problem. If maybe they don't have Rudy, then the Randle thing works out better too. But the interesting thing about replacing Cat with Randle is that Cat had, he was sort of emotionally immature. He would get down on himself, and that would affect his play sometimes. Randle would get mad at other people, so his psychological stuff ends up affecting other people too, and affecting his play. So Randle comes in there, and if you look at the differences, when I'll show you in the video, it's interesting. He ISOs a lot more than what Cat was doing because they have very similar numbers, by the way. They really have gotten a very similar production, and the offensive rating is almost exactly the same from last year to now. The rank is different. They're ranked a lot higher because everyone right now is not scoring as high, I suppose, so that their number is just ranked higher, even though it's almost the same. But the point is that a lot more ISOs, a lot less passing per game from the Timberwolves this year. That's tough. The vibes get bad pretty quickly, right? When you got a guy who comes in there, he's kind of mean a little bit, maybe gets on people, doesn't play defense well, which Cat didn't do that well either. But Randle's gotten, gets caught a little bit more. And so you mix all that together, and I think that the vibes are really, really terrible in Minnesota.
Yeah, with Rudy, it seems like he's struggling even more with his hands lately. Like he's not able to catch anything. I thought he was getting better for a little minute, but it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I have the montage, and it's early, so there wasn't a ton of them yet. But even the ones where you give it to him and he dunks it, he fumbles some of those catches too. Doesn't quite catch it clean. I don't know if he's ever really gotten that much better. I mean, it wasn't great in the beginning. So, yeah, there has been some improvement there. But if you want to be a team that, competes into the conference finals or the NBA finals, it's really hard to have a center who you don't want to pass to. And other than Mike Conley, you can see as clear as day that none of the other guys really want to give it to him. And I don't blame them. And when you see, what's happened to his catches sometimes and the turnovers, of which he ranks extremely high in that category for his position, you played in those situations. You don't want to give the guy the ball because you're so afraid he's going to turn it over.
Yeah, and then we came to a situation where he had Scotty Barnes underneath the basket, and he was just posting up. And Julius Randle wanted the ISO, waved him off, and then Rudy walks out and gets a 3-second call. And then Anthony Edwards is screaming at Rudy, and yeah, the vibes definitely seemed off on that play, even though they came back on the next media day and said nothing was wrong. But it feels like there's something going on there.
Well, it got worse than that because the next play down, Scotty Barnes was vociferously applauding the referees for calling the 3-second call, of which he had been yelling at it for probably from the 2-second mark, right? He was yelling early for the 3-second call. And just to make that clear, Rudy turns, puts his head down, and walks across the lane, taking the 3-second violation, basically, right? He was, I'm going to get one because the guy's not.
No. I don't think that. Well, I don't know. I can't get it in his head. I just feel like he was just upset and he didn't care what was going on in the game. He just put his head down. I don't think he was intentionally trying to get it 3 seconds.
I think he was upset. I think he didn't care what was going to happen in that second. And then I think he also wanted the 3 seconds.
Then that's really bad if that was his intention.
Now, this happened before in the season. We found another one where it wasn't intentional. He was posting up. Randle ignored him and then drove, and then they had to call 3 seconds because he'd been in there for so long. So, you know as well as I knew, like the time you're like in 8th grade, you had that internal clock in your head and you're nervous about it. Like, I got to get out of here. I can't stay in the lane that long. So for that to happen twice, the first time maybe okay. The second time, I believe was intentional. I believe he wanted to make a statement. It made worse because the next play down, when the Raptors got control of the ball again, Scotty Barnes, I am assuming because he clapped so hard and was so excited about the 3-second call, you can see Rudy size him up. He stares at him. He starts to cut across toward him, and he hip checks him to the ground, giving him 2 free throws, which spurns a 10-1 run that ends the game. And if you want to send a message and give somebody a hip check, I get it. Okay, fine. But you don't do it when the other team's in the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Scotty wanted. We've been doing that since kids. I mean, just like, yeah, that's just a thing that we do to get the opposition upset. And Rudy found himself in a bad situation on that one. He got to be smarter than that. He's a vet,
Oh, I know. So he let it get to him, but that might also be indicative of the vibes being that bad that's where we are. He's willing to basically tank a game for that, to make some weird statement or whatever, or not be in control of the IQ.
So Anthony Edwards has been shooting a lot of threes, and Julius Randle has been shooting a lot of threes, and the team is actually shooting pretty well from 3. But I'm starting to think part of that is just because it's intentional. They want to shoot a lot of threes, but if Rudy's just down there posting up underneath the rim, like, what's your choice, right? Like, you're not going to be able to get all the way to the rim because it's going to be clogged down there.
Yeah, and he's not in the post. He's like in the dunker spot. He's always hovering around there. But they get him out, and they get him setting ball screens too. But it's like 4-on-5 because you don't want to pass to the guy, and you can't really have that. Now, we've been saying this for a long time. I actually was going to call this up. I meant to do this before we started, but let me see if I can quickly find it. Lineups when it's Nas and not Rudy have to be the solution to my mind. And in fact, they should just be able to trade Rudy and go with Nas as a center and alongside Randle. I think that would be to give you the best of both worlds because he can play some defense. He's terrific offensively. And you no longer have 4-on-5. And you cannot play 4-on-5 if you want to go deep in the playoffs. It's just not possible. Now, that said, they did it last year when they had Cat, who didn't hold the ball as long. The ball moved better, and the vibes are just better too. Like, that is a big thing, when you're talking about that deep in the playoffs with a team like this. So I'm frustrated all around because they gave Rudy a huge extension to start the season. So he's going to get paid $36 million a year over the next 3 years average. That makes him almost untradeable anyway, right? So and certainly because he has 3 years on top of what he had before. So it's such a bad decision, I think. Whatever you get from Rudy defensively, which is good. He's one of the good ones, although he's playing really bad defense right now. I'm looking at the percentage of opponents of his shots around the rim compared to other centers. He's way down this year. People are scoring on him inside 6 feet easily.
I had like a random thought when I watched Peyton Pritchard just get into isolation and score on Rudy Gobert like he's like a 5th grader. It was like so easy for him against the Celtics. And I'm thinking, I watched Jokic guards in Paris.
Yeah.
And I just realized right there, like, Jokic is a way better perimeter defender than Rudy is. And Rudy's like a 4-time all defensive player of the year.
Oh, absolutely. And so it's, that whole thing about him getting pulled out and forcing switches and attacking him is a thing. That is a thing. I think the argument ended up being they didn't play him off the floor simply because they wouldn't sub him out and they just let him keep doing it and, take your chances with that. And as we saw, Steph Curry basically wins the gold medal. I'm sorry, that was over Wemby, not Rudy.
Yeah.
anyway, the point stands is that he is a liability in those certain situations against really good teams that can exploit that. And so that's that ceiling that you get when you have a Rudy Gobert team when they play him. Now, to the credit of the coaching staff, they limited his touches. So I'm looking at the paint touches from last year to this year, and his post touch points per post touch is really low too. And he's never been a good post player, even if it's there is an indication that there's been some higher efficiency with that, but it's ugly what he does down there. It's kind of, and then he always has a very high turnover percentage too as well. But they've limited his touches. So again, you saw a lot last year, a lot of short rolls to him. And I'd always be like, why are they doing that? They end up, he throws the ball out of bounds or he'll just drop the ball or whatever. It's never a great thing. But, you know, Mike Conley was the main instigator of that. You would see Ant do it a little bit. But now, again, this year, they're not giving him those short rolls, which is good. So, like, they're noticing that stuff. But, again, I think they need to go away from him a lot more and get Nas playing a lot more in those situations.
Yeah, to be fair to Rudy, he's been a part of a lot of very good basketball teams. So it seems like he raises the floor, and that's why he gets paid, even though, you know, you're mentioning the ceiling, which I think is true as well. Another concerning thing is that teams are scoring easily in the paint this year against the Wolves, which they didn't last year. So, yeah, Cat is not known as the greatest defender, but maybe he did have more impact than we think. And then even versus Jokic last year, like, he held up pretty good against Jokic, who's probably going to win 4 MVPs in a row, by the way. Yeah, or not in a row, 4 out of 5, right?
Yeah,
4 out of 5.
But it's hard to say that you know that Cat is, you know, is appreciably better defensively than somebody else. But from what I dug through with Randle, yes. And although, you know, Randle can do a couple things here on weak side wise rotationally. We saw him get a nice steal on a lob against the Raptors. But yeah, he got beat back door. He helps when he's not supposed to. Yeah, the communication's not there. So it's all off. And you can see Rudy getting really frustrated because some of those scoring in the paint is not him. They're bringing him out and then they're getting behind him and then getting to the rim. So all that isn't working as well. So everything about what they're running right now is mediocre, and that's why their record is 500. Now let's flip over to the Knicks because obviously, if you're talking about offense, they have an all-timer going on right now with their offensive rating. They're second in the league, which is still almost the highest of all time.
Can I ask you a question, Coach Nick? Because I feel like people just automatically think that the team is good on offense because of their offensive rating when so much more goes into it. Like, okay. I don't think necessarily that if you have the best offensive rating that you're the best offensive team. Doesn't margin of victory matter, pace matter, like how we're looking at their actual offense matter too?
Well, yeah, but like then if you have like, you know, 2 or 3 all-stars, you don't have to run a lot of interesting stuff and you're just killing people. But you know, that then you'd say, well, their offense isn't like amazing. And by the way, that's sort of what we see with like when I went through really quickly
what the Mavericks,
the Sixers, for instance.
Sixers.
The Sixers, and they finally get PG and Embiid and Maxey out there. You know,
on that game. I'm not saying you because you do your due diligence, but I just feel like it's a lazy take. Okay, this team has the best offensive rating. Let's just say they're the best offensive team in basketball and get on with our conversation. You know, I think there has to be more to it. You know,
I don't know, man. I mean, efficiency is a really good marker for how good the offense is working, isn't it?
Yeah, but pace matters, right? How many possessions?
I mean, it factors that in at least. It's normalized across everyone else's pace. So that should be, yes, it's per 100 possessions. That should normalize for that too. Now, the other thing about pace I've noticed that someone brought this up on Blue Sky, I think, was I was tracking this a couple of years ago to see are the fastest paced teams the highest offensive rated teams? And there was not a correlation that's strong enough for me to say that. So I don't know if this notion of we want to go fast because that's going to get the best shots is always that makes sense that will turn you into like the best offensive team.
Yeah. Also, like when we're talking historically, like to say that one team has a higher offensive rating, so they're better than another all-time team's actual offense, right? I don't think that's exactly fair as well. And then, you know, margin of victory matters too, I think, right? Like how much you're beating teams by matters.
Yeah, net rating. Okay. I mean, net rating is certainly a good one. And that also probably has a really strong correlation to like championship aspirations. So I can see that as well. I'm kind of curious right now, but I'm going to tell you right now So the highest rated offensive team right now is Cleveland, and I'm going to match that up with the by pace. So let's see if we can do this live because I'm kind of
right. So you're saying the highest rated the team with the highest offensive rating right now is Cleveland, right?
Yeah. You want to know what they rank in pace?
Well, I want to add one thing. I don't think that necessarily means you're the best offensive team in basketball.
Right. Well, okay, but if you brought up pace, and it's interesting, thought experiment. So the fastest paced team in the league this year are the Bulls, and they're ranked 17th. So like going up and down fast for them, it ain't really working. The second fastest team in the league is Atlanta. The Hawks are, where are they ranked? I can't find them. Why don't I find them? The Hawks are ranked 24th in offensive rating. So now we have the top two paced teams are not very efficient at all. Now let's look.
I think my major point is to just automatically say, okay, best offensive team. Let's get on with our conversation because this team has the highest rating is not necessarily true. Like I could argue that the Celtics are a better offensive team, even though their offensive rating isn't as high, right?
Yeah, I guess. That said, Boston's going to be right there. They're third, so it's not like
But I just hear always like best offensive basketball. No, that's not necessarily true, and that could even go for like worst defense. Whatever that team is, they might not actually be the worst defensive team because they have the worst defensive rating. I just think it's sometimes a little bit lazy how we phrase it. We as humans, not me and you.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I those are good stats for me. I like them. I think that they're helpful.
I think it's a tool to get to where we want to go, not just like, okay, best offensive rating, best team, let's move on. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, now you're going to get into aesthetics. Like, okay, what makes somebody else a better offensive team? Other they pass better, they move the ball more. Well, that's, again, that's the thing where it's like sometimes you need to do that to be really efficient.
Just watching them play and then strength of schedule, especially early in the season, might mean something, right?
As a small sample size theater becomes a big thing too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I think that we could point to. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back to the Knicks though, because we're talking about them. Okay. Their offense is awesome. There's however you want to say, you don't have to say best or it's the second best, whatever. They're awesome. And Cat is playing all time. This is his best offensive production he's had in his career, basically. So that's not the issue. And so the Knicks are getting a lot back from that end. But obviously he's giving up a lot of points on the other side, and that's keeping them from being a little bit better than they are. But that said, they are pretty good. I think they're in a better situation now than the Timberwolves are, without question.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, let's look at the standings real quick. The Knicks are they've won 6 of the last 10. They're 9-7. So
they just lost to the Jazz though, which is concerning.
Yeah, and the Wolves are 8-8. So not that off in terms of record difference, but I feel like they're in a better position. That said, Cat anchoring the defense as the center is a real problem for them, and there's not a lot they're going to be able to do. I guess Mitchell Robinson coming back.
I think the two things that have to happen for the Knicks to be legit title contenders is Mitch has to come back strong, and Mikal Bridges has to step up. Like he has to step up. Because he has to look more like the Brooklyn Nets Mikal Bridges when he got traded from the Suns, because last year in the playoffs, they had Julius Randle who could draw a double, another guy that could draw a double from the perimeter outside of Jalen Brunson. They need another guy from the perimeter that could draw a double, especially when Brunson's going to get picked up full court by bigger wings like they will be against the Celtics, and that's the team they have to inevitably beat.
Okay, so, I mean, it's hard to imagine like they need to do much more on offense to improve on that side anyway, but okay. I suppose we were looking specifically at the Celtics and how that's going to work.
Yeah, like a 7-game series versus Celtics, they need another guy that could draw a double and handle the basketball at a high level.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that when you're talking about X's and O's in terms of a long series. Mm-hmm. That it could be a problem as well. But obviously, if they can't shore up the defense, they won't even be there anyway to play the Celtics in the playoffs. And the question now is like Mitchell Robinson. They're going to probably end up playing him alongside Cat. But then will he be able to hold up under enough of those minutes to not break down again? So that's an interesting thing. But we'll see how that works out. But either way, we're talking about like the trade. As of now, I'm going to have to go with the Knicks getting the better of the trade, I think, as of now. They've unlocked more from Cat offensively, but the question now is Tibbs going to be able to like come up with something? Is there a way that they could do it now with having the guys they do have on the team? We're talking about OG and Bridges and Hart. Like the defensive rating should be higher than it is now anyway. That's a real problem. So there's got to be some solutions. I need to do a deep dive. I admit I haven't looked at their defense yet, but there's got to be an answer there where they can figure out better ways to get, even 15th ranked defense. Because I think right now they're ranked in the 20s. Let me see where they are. The Knicks are ranked 21st. So they need to figure out how to get to, 6 spots higher. And that might shake out in the next few games as we see, we get to the 20, 25 games under their belt.
I think with Tibbs, player coach fit is so important. And this year he doesn't have a rim protecting big, right, to anchor the defense like he usually does with all his teams he's basically had over the course of his career. So they might have to be more creative on that side of the floor.
Yeah, no, I like, more pressure, doubling more, rotating, maybe play some more zone or,
and they got guys that could do that with OG, Mikal. They got switchable wings. Campaign is very active defensively. So,
absolutely. So that's why there are ways to do it. But the question is, can
Josh Hart
box enough to do it?
Josh Hart.
We have a super chat from Ven. Thank you, Ven. Really appreciate it. Lakers will never beat the Nuggets, and that is interesting. They went on a run. It was an interesting game until the third, and then the Nuggets took control. If I'm not mistaken, let me see here. Where was that game? I watched some of this. And they basically just second half run that took control of the game, and then in the third quarter, and then the Lakers couldn't really threaten. Jokic is on a all-timer, man, and he's shooting the three at an insane clip. Have you seen this combo?
I knew he was shooting it better, and I knew his stats are ridiculous and getting even better. And it looks like he's going to get his 4th MVP, but I don't know the exact 3-point percentage.
He's shooting 56% from 3, and he's the career high 4 attempts per game. So I was almost thinking maybe he took less threes because he only takes when they're wide open generally.
Right.
But he's increased that amount, and it's just crazy. I mean, obviously he's not going to finish the season at 56%. I will be willing to bet that, but it's a real thing now. If he's looking for more, that'll open up their offense.
He was the best player in the league when he wasn't shooting threes that well. So imagine now, right?
Right. And the Nuggets right now stand at where are they? 6th in the conference, 9-6. They've won 7 of the last 10. So they're on a nice real streak after having been struggling earlier on. And that's a big part of it. Where I watched some of this, and in fact, I watched the game. Did Murray look better?
Not consistently. That game, a little bit.
Well, 2 for 4 for 3, 14 points, 5 assists, and 2 turnovers. And it was okay, but there's something different about him. I don't know if he's banged up or what, but it's a little bit better than it was earlier in the year, and better than we saw over the summer in the Olympics for sure.
Yeah, he always comes into the season out of shape, and then he kind of works his way back in, and he's always at his best in the playoffs, except last year he had some, he wasn't actually that bad last year in the playoffs. So he usually looks more like closer to Bubble Murray when he's in the playoffs.
Right. And, and by the way, and Christian Brown, I love the way he's been fitting in with that unit as well. So they're figuring some things out. And I'm not surprised it might have taken him a little bit to kind of get something hammered out. Is Russ better? Like, I don't know if he's better, but, because it was funny. He didn't play well against the Lakers for most of the game. And then after they kind of got a nice lead, he got a couple buckets. And then all of a sudden his stats look better than they were as a game overall. But I still worry about him. And I do think that that's going to be a thing for them, that they got to just figure out the most optimal times to play him. Like, look at the heat map across the game and just like see if there's a pattern when like he makes these really bad misses or bad turnovers at like this part of the third quarter, and like don't play him in those spots. I don't know. They're gonna have to figure that out and really keep those minutes shaved down to get the best version of him.
Brown definitely got better in every way. Like, he was already good. He obviously was a contributor on the championship team, but he looks a little more athletic, a little bit more confident at the rim, showing a little more ball handling like he did at Kansas. Yep. He definitely has improved in every way, and they're going to really need that. And he's been helping them with Jamal Murray not looking like Jamal Murray. So he's been really good so far.
Yeah. So they might kind of get back in the conversation. It's been a little bit. I got burned last year thinking, how they're going to win again, and then they didn't. They puttered out in the playoffs. I want to say that Michael Porter Jr. looked really good, but he's been up and down as well. So they need to kind of figure out how to unlock him better. But the thing with them is, like, there's not like they're going to run different plays. Like, they have their offense, they have their way of playing around Jokic. So it's just a question of, getting the right rhythm, getting the right, their legs under them.
Jamal's the X factor. Jamal's the X factor.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And Russ is also an X factor too.
Okay.
Euro Thunder. Thank you so much, Euro Thunder. Really appreciate it. Russ and Jokic are a better fit than Russ and LeBron. Well, Russ was really letting the fans know in crypto how he felt at the end of the game. Did you see that? He's like talking to the crowd.
No, but I agree with this because LeBron likes to have the basketball more than Jokic, right? And Russ likes to have the basketball a little bit. So Jokic, he doesn't really hold the ball as much. So I would agree that that's probably a better fit for Russ,
Yeah, I mean, it could also just sort of be mindset, the way Jokic leads versus the way LeBron leads to some degree. I mean, I remember when, we all remember Russ was like, his confidence was shot by the end of that Laker run. And no one was there to put an arm around him and say, hey, well, you got this, or that kind of thing. And they kind of got iced out. They iced him out. He knew he was being traded or going to get rid of probably a quarter of the way with left of the season. So it was just a cloud. It was rough. Here, the Nuggets are a little bit different the way they're run, and that could help as well, because I do think that Russ, his emotions are a big part of his game, and if he's channeling those properly, then he can, like, yeah. And I think it was a little overboard. He was really, really letting them have it, but then he gave the guy. Luckily, he gave the guy a high five at courtside, where it looked like he was yelling at him and mad and was gonna like do something else, but he gave him a high five. That was cool, and they were probably dapping him up anyway, but. And then, by the way, it was good to see Russ play well in crypto. That had been a little while. So, yeah.
Everybody's getting their revenge time. I seen the Clippers cook the Sixers, and James looked like he was having a lot of fun out there with that.
Yeah, well, we can talk about the Sixers too, because we got Jared McCain to talk about. We got Joe B wants to ask about the thoughts on Scotty Barnes at this point.
Love Scotty Barnes.
Scotty.
I love Scotty Barnes' game. I mean, he doesn't have a great team around him now, but he's very versatile on both sides of the floor, and he makes the right basketball play really often. And he's long, he's athletic. The shooting has to get better, but I think he's a future All-Star.
Oh, okay. I don't know yet. I'm still out. He missed a whole bunch of games, just came back, but he's got that. I like the intensity. I like the energy, and he's got a lot of skills, and he can play on both sides of the ball. So. Toronto's a weird situation right now because I don't know if they want to win necessarily, if they're incentivized to win, but they have players like Pirtle, who's been hammering it on a lot of those games, and they move the ball well, and it's an interesting conundrum for them. But could they be competitive?
Not right now, but they could. Like, let's say you put. The Nets aren't a super fantastic team, right? If you put Scotty Barnes on the Nets instead of Ben Simmons, I mean, they're a playoff team in the East.
Yeah, and it's sad because Simmons actually looks okay. There are plays he looks okay, and then the ones that get passed around are the ones where he doesn't shoot it and he misses like the layups and stuff. It's not.
Yeah, he's doing solid. He's getting like these nights where he's getting like 8 type games, which is pretty good. Yeah.
No, but Scotty's a different level on that as well. All-star stuff to crack. We'll have to see, but I think he's a good guy to have as part of your core. So we'll see. I think he's probably a good number 3 on a championship team.
We got to see. He's still young. I mean, he's a really good passer, really good defender, great feel for the game, makes the right play. We'll see.
Okay. All right. In fact, yeah.
What were you going to talk about before the super chat? Thanks for the super chat, by the way. You were talking about, we were about to segue.
Oh no, I don't know. Russ and Jokic. Russ, I don't know. I think I was done with Russ. So,
the Sixers.
Oh yeah,
I wanted to ask you. They say even any kind of attention is good attention. What's the saying? That even negative
all bad publicity is good publicity? I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that can't be the case here, right?
No. So, I mean, what did you make about the reports coming out, the leak about this Maxey going at Embiid in the meeting?
And then Embiid's going to find the leak, he said. That's what. My thing is that when you have a team meeting, players are going to talk to agents, and agents are going to talk, period. And there's a good chance it'll get out there. Now, there's teams like the Spurs, and I would like to say the Warriors, but then we saw what happened with Poole and Draymond, so that didn't really work out. But there are some teams that do a better job of that, but the Sixers aren't a team that's built with great culture. So it doesn't surprise me at all that this happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think what comes out of this is that, Embiid has been taking advantage of everybody this whole time. He's been there and getting the star treatment, which, engenders ill will from the role players often if it's not handled properly. But
this has always sorry to cut you off, Coach. This has always been the case. It's been like this since Ben and Joel, and that's why Jimmy wasn't a big fan of what was going on with the Sixers. But proceed.
Yeah, and what hides that is that Joel can then just be so dominant that it doesn't matter if he shows up an hour before the game, know. But when he's not looking as good as he normally does right now, as he's getting back into playing shape, then suddenly it becomes a weird issue. But it's you can't really write off Paul George and Maxey and Embiid as a team until you see them together a little bit. The problem with that is that they're already 3-13, so. If that's what they are, let me see here. Where are we? Philly is 3-13. Like I have to imagine no team has ever started 3-13 and made the playoffs. Yeah, since that's the kind of start.
So what everybody seems to be talking about is that there's a chance for them to get back in it because they are in the East, and with a string of victories, they could get back in the mix. Like if they had this record in the West, there'd probably be no chance. So
right. I mean,
that's the one good thing. And then Jared McCain is in the Rookie of the Year conversations right now. With Dalton Connect and probably Stephen Castle are probably the other guys that are in the mix.
Castle's terrific. And you know what? McCain is also terrific. I got a video coming up on him. I've got it prepped. We'll see if I can get it done this week. But McCain is jittery, I suppose is the word I'm looking for. He is, what's the other word we use? He's got shake. He's got
juice.
There's another word we use. He's really just explosive in the quick twitch. You know what I mean? Really, he's got that and really polished. And it was funny because one of the players that I work with was trying to tell me about him at Duke, but just as a very, catch and shoot, he shot fake, dribble, pull up, that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden he comes in, he's got all manner of hezzy. And then he's shooting like Steph off screens. He's shooting like Clay off screens. He's coming off.
It's almost like he's Brunson with the ball a little bit with his craft in the lane, and then he's a little Steph like with his movement shooting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a kind of a combination of Steph and Brunson, which is frightening if I were a defender. Because how are you supposed to now? If he, the one thing I have to do a deeper dive in is his passing. Have you looked at that at all?
No, but I don't think it's terrible. He doesn't make bad decisions. It doesn't feel like he gets a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, I got to try to see what that's like for him and his vision.
But the thing about him is that he's decisive. So, that helps with the turnover thing.
Yeah, and he's got a mean TikTok.
Oh, yeah, that's what he's known for.
I know, it's crazy.
He's more known for TikTok than basketball. As of right now, that'll probably change with how well he's playing.
Yeah, right. But like the dances he can do on TikTok are very impressive. So the Euro Thunder is back with us. Thank you so much, the Euro Thunder. We love the Euros. Jokic versus Embiid. Embiid has all the on-court and off-court disadvantages and still dares to show up late. I would personally be ashamed of myself. I wonder how that happens. Like, you get to the league and usually they were lectured about how you have to be on time, you have to be a good citizen, this and that, whatever. And then next thing you know, he's not doing any of that stuff. And it could just be over time. There's a creep that happens, right? As you slowly creep towards being late, and then nobody says anything, and next thing you know, here you are. I don't know if we need to light up Brett Brown for whatever was going on now, but it does sound like there was this notion that there was not a lot of accountability back in the process days.
We talked about it last playoff series, and the actual highlight just came up on my TV, which is crazy. When he threw the ball off the backboard to himself and kind of landed, and he was hurt after that. And throughout that whole series, he was dominant. Like, he was averaging 30. But to me, I said it then, like, he wasn't moving right, and it feels like he hasn't been the same since.
I agree. And should he be out there playing if he's not right? But he was out for a while to try and get healed, and it seems like it should have been healed by now. So I'm worried about that as well. I don't know if we're going to ever get to the point where he's going to be healthy and get through a whole season.
Yeah, he was just so skillful and so big that he was still effective, not looking right. It was pretty incredible, but he definitely didn't look like he was moving right.
And you just got to be very careful with like when the group, the public sentiment changes against you, it's hard to get it back. And the stuff that he's doing is with the flopping and falling. Like did you see the thing with Embiid when he shot a free throw and then kind of like flopped? What everyone's making fun of him.
He got some other weird free throw routine going on. Did you see that being passed around?
No.
Oh
what?
Man, he kind of makes it seem like he's going to the bathroom and like. You didn't see it?
Oh, wait a minute. I think I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he not only did it in warmups, he did it once in the game.
He likes being the villain, and he does that thing that to the groin area.
Well, that's DX. That's wrestling days. Yeah.
All right. So
yeah.
But you got to be a little bit careful because when the sentiment changes on you, it's hard to get it back. And I worry that kind of stuff combined with he's not playing as well as he normally does, could sour quickly. And then the season could be lost at that point. So they got to get the vibes turned back on ASAP. Paul George has to get in there and maybe lead a little bit and do something with that. And I'm not sure that's his strongest point either. But they need somebody, a veteran, in there to get control of that locker room.
How do you feel about Podcast P using the disaster as podcast content?
Well, that's what he does, right? That's his whole thing. So he is very self-aware, right? And he understands feelings, he understands teammates and how that all works. So he's gonna have to put it to use now and actually get in there and do something with it.
Yeah. It's interesting. We never had that dynamic in the past, right? Where somebody has a public platform and they're in a long form conversation talking about the disasters of the team that they're currently on, right? And how does that affect the locker room? I'm not sure. It's interesting. It's new media,
Right. Draymond and there are a lot of guys doing it now, and so we're getting another level of insight. And as a result, or not as a result, but ratings are down. Everyone's kind of concerned. And
why do you think that is?
I think part of the problem is you're always dealing with with football now, and that's always been a thing. So you're always going to kind of see depressed ratings until the football's over. And if you're going to be worried about the style of play, we talked about this a little bit. You can't touch anybody if they go to the basket and it's a foul. Everyone gets really upset about that. And they just turn it off. That could be part of it. And then the homogeneity of offense and certainly shot profile. Everyone's kind of becoming a similar shot profile, and that's it could kind of feel boring, right? So the real question for me is, can we get back to exciting offense, which is ball movement, player movement, that kind of clever, that stuff.
Yeah, don't you think there's more ball movement, player movement than, let's say, like the 70s and
80s, well,
70s,
not the 70s, but like late 80s into the 90s? Absolutely, you can't watch those games. It's really hard. So, not every team, by the way, but for the most part.
And hasn't it always been a copycat league where all the teams play similar throughout the eras?
Yeah, except for the triangle. No one ever really copied the triangle because they didn't know how to teach it.
Okay.
But yeah, everyone's running pistol. Everyone's running the zoom. Everyone's running handoff in the ball screen or pin down in the handoffs. And so there is a sort of homogeneity there, which could be underwhelming if you're trying to find that. But I think what it solves that is I think we're getting some really epic finishes in the tournament. I think that's good. And crazy to see some of the stuff, and they're playing hard. So that's something. Maybe they just need to figure out how to make the tournament the whole year long, make the whole regular season a tournament, which is what it is, but somehow capture that more. But I think I said this, maybe not on this show, but maybe another show is on, where, on any given night, you got a problem that you're looking at the slate of games and like 85% of them are not worth watching. The matchups of like number 12 versus 14. And it's just like, I don't want to watch that. And it happens so often on any given night that it's like, they're not going to capture those viewers.
Yeah.
Here's our next super chat. Let's get to, make sure I haven't missed one. Alan Tran. Thank you so much, Alan. Great to see you. I support players having a second career, but Paul George is an underrated issue for the Sixers. After all the drama he podcast the day after, Lock in. I mean, if you know how the schedule of an NBA player goes, it's a lot of time to fill during the day. So I don't see it as taking away from anything necessarily. Although you're right, he could be meeting with his teammates, right, and grabbing him by the thing and say, stop doing this. So that's a point. But until I will guarantee this: someone's going to say something on a podcast like that that's inflammatory, and it'll get back to the team, and it'll cause a whole problem. We have not had that yet, have we?
No, not that I could think of. But it could be an issue. But he says underrated, and it's probably not their biggest issue. I mean, really, the biggest issue in all this is Joel Embiid's health, bigger than anything. Like if he's healthy, none of this happens.
And Paul George's health too. He keeps banging up that knee.
No, 100%. Like that. There's a lot of things going into it right now. A lot of the players that felt like good signings aren't really playing well. Like some of them feel like they're on the back end of their career. Paul George's health, Maxi's health. But at the end of the day, it's not 3-13 or even close to it if Joel Embiid's playing like an MVP.
Right. That's true. Yeah. And then someone mentioned like that's a boring rookie class, but just FYI, Jared McCain is not boring. Dalton Connect is not boring. Stephen Castle, you got to watch him the Spurs games. He's really good. He's kind of like, I guess he's a mix between maybe like Chris Paul and maybe Steph a little bit. He really is solid and smart and knows how to run the show. I'm missing some other rookies, aren't I?
Castle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good defensively, and he has a motor, and he's going to be a really good basketball player for years to come.
Yeah, for sure. And I know there's at least one more rookie that I'm forgetting right now.
I mean, Zach had flashes like against the Knicks.
Yeah. No, he's had a couple of games so far that have been like, whoa, okay. So keep your eye on that. Let's see here. Joe B, thank you so much for Joe B coming back with us. I meant to ask what you thought of Scotty Barnes at the point guard spot. Oh, he's currently starting at the 1 with RJ Barrett at the 4. I'm sorry. I got to get my eyes on some more Toronto. I was focused on that. Only on the Timberwolves, but I don't know. I haven't watched the Raptors enough yet.
I like the idea of that because I feel like Scotty Barnes has more vision than RJ Barrett does. And RJ Barrett is at his best when it's just like head down to the rim, looking to score, Yeah, I like Scotty Barnes at the point. He has more feel on the passing side of things than RJ does. So I think I like the idea of it.
Yeah, and Grady Dick is out there playing really well and just sort of playing within the framework of an offense. Great to watch him play. Pirtle had some monster games, so that's what I'm saying. Like there's something going on there, that they could be a good team. I always liked Davion Mitchell, by the way, too. I think he's just a tough guy, tough player. He's really well skilled. For some reason, his offense has not translated as well.
Davion Mitchell on the Kings?
No, he's on the Raptors now.
Oh, he is on the Raptors. Okay.
Yeah. That's right. They've got something there in Toronto that they could actually do something with if they want to. Scotty handles the ball really well. So he could be that Scottie Pippen role for sure in an offense and help keep them going. I'm trying to think of, as far as who's starting for them. It gives them, the guards a chance to get up the court and come off the screens, which is always great when you have a bigger guy bringing the ball up. I'll keep my eye on that. Maybe I'll do a video on that once we get 6, 7, 8 games of Scotty coming back from injury. So let's get to Euro Thunder. Thank you so much, Euro Thunder. Really appreciate it. Again, the multiple super chats by people. It really just helps us keep the show going. They say, would and should the Sixers be able to move on from Embiid and PG-13? Would it be wise? I have no faith in the two of them. I don't have much faith either. I hear you. Health-wise, I suppose, is really the thing, right? I'm not even sure chemistry-wise it's the greatest fit.
It's still really early, right? I mean, you have to just play it out at this point. I think it's not time to move on from them yet, but I would also say I'm concerned that Embiid is never going to be the same, and that's who's gonna if I know that, everybody else might know that, and how would they move on from him? Right? Didn't he just? Right.
But that said, I also think that I think most teams would take Embiid in the second.
Okay.
Right? No.
Do you feel the same way about Zion?
No.
Okay.
No, I definitely don't think, and I don't think anybody would either. I think Zion has improved himself like Embiid has. That said, if you want to trade for Embiid, you're now going to deal with what has been leaked, right? It could very well be evidence of an issue that can
Right.
cause wherever he goes.
Well, also when you change the culture, sometimes it changes the habits of the player, right? Like if you say like you have to be here or that's it, like there's no you have to be here. I don't know if Daryl Morey teams are specifically like that. Doesn't seem like it. You know, it feels like he gives his led teams are kind of have a little bit of leeway. So,
Yeah,
like for the Spurs, he's not showing up late. You know,
right. That's probably true, right? But I don't think he'd ever go to the Spurs, right? I think they're looking, they're like, thanks, no, but
no. But I'm just saying, like a team where they hang their hat on culture.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Right, right, and they make those decisions based on that. So that would be a team that would never trade for Embiid, probably. So yeah.
By the way, the Spurs are 9-8, and I feel like they're the Houston Rockets of this year in the sense that they added veterans, and it's helping the development of their young players and making them a better basketball team. Just like how the Rockets added Fred and Dillon, this team added CP3 and Harrison, and it's made all the difference. And then obviously, you know, Wemby's been more or less like last year, but then Stephen Castle too has been a revelation. Yeah. So it's really good to see this team cook up.
Well, I was watching Wemby earlier in the year, and he's it wasn't great. It was up and down. And I'm like, he's just got to take less threes and sort of play more like a big man. So guess what? He goes on this a pretty big run over the last 5 games that he's played. And he's averaging, double-digit attempts in threes now. And like, as if that's like basically unlocked everything. So what do I know? I suppose maybe that was something that helps him better. Although he's been shooting kind of poorly from the three on massive volume in the last 2 games.
Yeah, it's
better. So I like the connection to the Houston. By the way, are you aware of Houston's record right now?
It's really good. I would also say that Wemby's percentage is around the same, but the volume is way higher. So would you consider that good?
Well, yes. You mean overall Wemby's 3-point percentage?
Yeah. His percentage is around the same, or maybe even 1 percentage higher, but the volume is way up.
Right. Oh, I see what you mean. You're right. Right. Yeah. I mean, right now he's shooting 33.6% from 3 on 9 attempts per game. I mean, it's low. It's a little low. You want to see it, average.
35. Let's say he could get to 35. Do you like 9 attempts?
35 at 9 attempts. Geez, probably. Yeah. I got to see it in the context of like how much is he dragging guys out, and then he can go by them as well. Is that happening? And if that's going to be the big thing. Is he providing the gravity for the offense that they need by doing that? At this point, it's almost like I don't even know if it matters if you close out on him or put a hand up, because you're not going to even see it. So, you know what I mean? It's almost like, do you even need just give him that space? Because maybe wave your hands from far. I don't know what you're going to do, because nothing will get up there high enough to threaten to block it or to rush him. So why do it? Unless you're somebody, right? You have a very specific people who could actually get a hand up on him, I guess.
Katie's kind of like that, even though he's not as tall, right? Like no matter what you do, he's getting that shot off.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But it seemed like from a teenager, he was just so efficient, right? Like he was just always super efficient, KD.
Yeah. And then buzzer beater. Thank you so much for the thanks for about diving into the Knicks. We appreciate it. I mean, the Knicks need a video, but the Rockets need the video too. I got to do one on them and kind of break down how Şengün is operating now. It's really a great story in my mind that they put this together. This is probably what we thought was going to happen last year when they brought those vets in before they got all banged up.
Let me ask you a question, Coach Nick. Like I said, I believe that Mikal Bridges has to play like a star for the Knicks to do well, right? Including the return of Mitch. Like those are the 2 keys for me. Do you think he's a star level player?
Like is he an all-star?
Mikal Bridges, can he get to an all-star level? Because we saw it with the Nets.
Yeah, barely. He could kind of get the last nod. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he's a guy who we've seen who could shoot elite from 3, and he can be a lockdown defender, and he's got a nice mid-range game. So those 3 things to me can combine for an all-star nod, and then that's your criteria. Then yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, I got to get to some family stuff this week, but I hope you're going to have a good week. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Figuring it out now. Figuring it out, Coach Nick.
Okay. Well, good luck figuring it out. And I hope all you guys are healthy and safe on your Thanksgiving, and you have a good conversation at the Thanksgiving table. Did I miss anybody's I don't think so. I think I got everyone for the super chat. But anyway, again, thank you so much for all being there. And again, have a healthy Thanksgiving. Do not go see Red One if you know what's good for you. I'm a sucker for a really good, Christmas movie. This was not one of them. So don't go see that one. And have a great holiday. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. And Combo, I hope you know how much you mean to me, because
man, appreciate that.
We wouldn't do this without you.
Appreciate that. Likewise.
All right. Well, thank you all for everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?
Yes, sir.